All right.
Yeah. So it says we're live, man.
Hey, what's up? But I don't see the YouTube shit on here. Oh, there's somebody said, "What's up, Dennis?" J Dog. What's up? All right. Uh Here we are. We're doing 10 evil sounding albums with the Dark Path over here. Matt at the Dark Path. So, what's up, everybody? Hope everybody's doing good. First time I'm doing like this StreamYard live shit, so bear with me if I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So, my idea for the video actually came from Matt. That's why I actually I wanted him to do it because he had a collection update and he said he didn't like black metal without Satan. And he was like, dude, bring Satan back. This fucking shit sucks. Like, if
Well,
I'm listening,
that's funny because all the black metal that I picked to show, it's not any satanic black metal. So it's complete antithesis. Makes no sense.
yeah,
Par for course for the Dark Path. So
yeah. But I just thought that was cool. Like, um, it doesn't even need to be black metal, but I kind of understood what he was saying at that point. Like, what's the point of like having these like evil albums if you're not going to talk about Satan and like just go and I mean you got all these like I guess hipster black metal albums if you want to say that I guess but yeah, nobody wants to talk about Satan. It's like a taboo subject, and not to say all my albums are satanic, they're not, but evil sounding just means like an aura about the music that sounds evil. What's your take on that, Matt?
yeah, I mean at this point, I think anyone that takes the Satanism, Satan worshiping, devil stuff seriously is kind of fooling themselves a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit silly, but for me, the albums that I picked out are just ones that have the evil vibe to it. And some of the ones I picked, it's because of a certain song, maybe not the album as a whole, but the song that I have in mind is so strong, it has such an evil vibe to it. I wanted to go ahead and show it. But yeah, as far as taking Satan seriously, get the fuck out of here. So
Yeah,
that's the way I look at it. So
right. I mean, and I get it if somebody wants to, if like Satanism is your religion, I get that. I mean, people have all sorts of crazy religions, but I don't, I mean, to worship like a devil seems kind of odd to me that there is
yeah,
something like that. But on the other hand, if people worship a god, I mean, they think that's real. Um, so I mean, it is what it is. You guys want to worship something, I get it. I mean, as far as like LaVey Satanism is, it's worshiping yourself and worshiping basically uh, doing what you want to do in the world, which to me makes more sense than worshiping a fucking like a actual devil. But all
well,
religion is bullshit to me.
LaVeyan Satanism is basically just the basic like humanist belief,
Yeah,
just with
exactly.
some costumes sprinkled on top and a bunch of dirty 1960s orgy sex, and that's what it was all about. So, I mean, was it really is Church of Satan really a real like religion? I don't think so. I think it's a little bit silly, but I don't think that's what we were here to debate tonight. Our thoughts on LaVeyan Satanism, but you know.
I mean, it is what it is. But
I mean, we can if you want. I don't know if the people watching want to listen to two old dumbasses talk about LaVeyan Satanism, but
right. But all right. So, anyways, the stream actually is on evil sounding albums. So records, records that like invoke an evilness to them. So, and which is, something that I think is awesome and is really, really hard to convey on in music. generally, if that's something you want to convey. But to me, it builds like this kind of emotion that you can't deny when you hear a record, and it just has that kind of emotive tone to it. So
It's the
so
vibe.
we're gonna
It's all about the vibe. Yeah.
it's all about the vibe. You can't just go out and try to make this. It's something that I think just happens.
Yeah, it's like even though I love the band Ghost, they have a lot of satanic lyrics or used to, but they don't sound evil, even though they sing about Satan every once in a while. That's not an evil, like a truly evil band.
Yeah,
So they have a completely different vibe, even though they're talking about same kind of wheelhouse stuff that we're probably going to get into here. But
yeah, probably.
yeah.
All right. You want to start us off, Matt, with your
I
one
I
fuck go
can.
their
I
pussies.
can. Well, whatever. I listen to whatever I want to, pal. First one I've got here is a band that not too many people are familiar with, but I hype this band all the time. This is a black and thrash band out of Peru called Morbid Slaughter.
Nice.
And this is a band that, they recorded a couple of demos and a 7-inch EP and a full length, and then that was it. They disappeared. And these demos that I have are fantastic. They are evil as all get out, but they're impossible to find. There is a CD pressing of this demo right here, Torment in the Crypt. That's probably easier to find than anything, but the sound quality is not that great on the CD. But what makes this band part of this these choices that I have here is the vocals. The vocalist for Morbid Slaughter has a really real wraith like kind of vocal approach. So it just sounds like a demon from hell that is just kind of screeching at you. And I've never really heard anybody do the wraith like vocals very well, but this guy from Morbid Slaughter, man, he nails it. So I highly recommend anybody out there to go and search out some Morbid Slaughter. They've got some stuff on YouTube. They're definitely worth checking out. These two demos are fantastic. This is Torment in the Crypt, and this one is The Summoning of the Graveyard Ghouls, and this one's probably my favorite out of the two demos that I have. And they also have this 7-inch that Boris Records put out. It's called Wicca, and this is pretty easy to find as well. This is still not necessarily in print, but I know Boris Records still has copies of this that you can get. Highly recommended, though. I think Wicca, the main song on here, is probably one of the best songs that they ever did. So if you like 7 inches, go to Wicca by Morbid Slaughter, and that is my first choice, man.
All right. What year did that come out?
Wicca, I want to say this came out in 2014. So, it's fairly recent, but nobody knows who they are. They weren't like a big band or anything, so that makes their stuff really hard to find. But that 7-inch, I know Boris Records made a whole bunch of them, so they've got stock on it, and you get it probably for like $6-7. Totally worth it. So
Nice. All right, I'm gonna check that
out.
out. I think I've heard them before, but I don't own anything by them, but I've definitely like streamed that at some point. All right, cool. My first choice, Sodom, Obsessed by Cruelty, U.S. press. So this is the first recording that the band did that was pretty much denied by Steamhammer because they deemed it too unlistenable, I guess. So they hated the production on this. They made the band go in and re-record it. So this is the only version you can get. Well, Metal Blade wasn't actually supposed to put this out. They weren't actually supposed to put this version out, but they didn't get the memo that this wasn't a good version, apparently. So they put it out anyways. And I like both versions, I guess. To me, this is the more evil sounding version because it's so I don't know. It just sounds like they went in the studio after after the EP. I mean, I know they recorded another record. What's that one called? In the Sign of Sodom or something, the unreleased record that they put out, which is good too. But I think this one is so fucking nasty sounding. And I mean, songs on here like Death Like Silence, Equinox, After the Deluge, Obsessed by Cruelty, Noctumeron. Oh man, those songs, like this shit just, this carries the vibe. If you like the first EP and the demos, this definitely carries that vibe, and it's just nasty, dirty, blackened thrash from, you know, the 80s, where they just continued on from, yeah, from Outbreak of Evil. So yeah, great fucking album. The I mean, it's just, to me, like the sound on this is so like lo-fi, and I mean this is kind of what black metal is to me, um back in the day anyways. So yeah, Sodom, Obsessed by Cruelty, and that cover, man. It looks like, you know, somebody spent about 35 minutes painting this, but yeah,
I give them 45 minutes, man. Come on,
yeah,
that all that dripping that had to take
that
some time.
dripping. I mean, and just to think this is like and to me it's like a kind of a record that shouldn't have been released. So to me that adds to it. It was like this record should never be released, and here it is released. And yeah, man, that's my first pick.
Yeah, I've always heard about that two different versions of that album, and I don't know which version I've heard, honestly. Like I've got it on CD, but I don't know which pressing it is. So
Yeah. Well, I think the CD is, there's two versions. If you have the version that has In the Sign of Evil and this one on it, that's, I think, the American pressing is on
yeah,
that
that's not
version.
the one I have then. I've got the
Yeah.
one where it's just that album. Yeah.
If it's just that album, it's the actual re-recorded version.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I need to
So
search out the OG version then.
the OG version is the drums are super up in the mix, and it sounds a lot sloppier, I guess is the word for it. But um yeah, it definitely adds to it. But like I said, I like both versions. I wouldn't say like you have to seek out the Metal Blade version because it's so much better. I just, that's the version I always grew up with, so that's the one I like the most. But I
Right.
understand why they would want to re-record it. But I mean, either version pretty much oozes evil to me.
Right on. All right. You ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to show the worst one that I've picked out just because I know when I show this album, some people are going to be like, Dark Path guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But hear me out, man. Just hear me out, okay? So this album, Rebel Extravaganza by Satyricon, I know, guys, I know, okay? But the song Supersonic Journey is one of the most evil sounding songs I've ever heard, just because it has a really creepy, like, synthesizer sound on here that just really elevates that song to like an outer space, like extraterrestrial kind of an evil feeling. And it's always been my favorite song on this album. I think most people would say that when it comes to this record, but you know, it's an evil sounding song. It kind of saves this album. Yeah, I said I didn't know what I was talking about. Get used to it. But it's a great song though, man. And you know, say what you will about this band and their trajectory and what have you, but that song, Supersonic Journey, like you can't listen to that song and not think that that synth that is on that song elevates it to a really creepy, evil level. It just does. So I just want to throw that out there and get it out of the way. Moving on.
So I've actually never heard that record.
You don't need to. I mean, it depends. I mean, it's a Satyricon album that doesn't sound like their early stuff, and it doesn't sound like anything that they did after it. It's kind of like just a really filthy late 90s, early 2000s Moonfog Records album where everything that Moonfog put out sounded exactly the same. And that was kind of the prototypical Moonfog album. So it's got that cold, sterile production. And yeah, it's not an evil record. It's a very dirty, kind of gross record, kind of like a back alley, filthy kind of a record. But I wouldn't say it's evil. But that song, Supersonic Journey, is evil as hell. So,
and what's the lyrics on there? Do you know?
oh, must I bust out lyrics?
I just meant if you knew, like offhand, like.
Bear with me. No, they're not evil lyrics, but not at all. The synthesizer sound on it makes it creepy. It makes it evil. It makes it sound like it's like outer space sci-fi horror, like Event Horizon kind of stuff.
Oh, nice.
That's what that song reminds me of. So,
well, that makes sense because I feel like Event Horizon is kind of an evil movie, even though it's. I mean, it's not so evil. I mean, it's kind of evil, but it has that vibe to it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right. Everything else I'm going to show is evil, guys. Don't worry about it. Well, I just wanted to get that out of the way. So,
all right. I want to get this one out of the way. Bathory, The Return. To me, this is probably Bathory's evilest album. If I have like a Bathory album that is black metal, this would be the album. I would say like every 90s black metal album after the Darkthrone album, they just try to basically recreate this and Hellhammer and Celtic Frost. But this is the one that pretty much defines black metal to me, and it sounds fucking super, super fucking evil. And it is evil.
Yeah.
So that's what they were going for. I mean, and that's what they got. And yeah, this, I mean, even by the album cover, you get that sense that this is going down the journey to the Satan's Satan's basement in here. And that's what you get. And yeah, every time I listen to this album, it just to me, it epitomizes black metal to me.
Yo, that's a perfect pick because that's their most evil sounding record. It's lo-fi, it's creepy.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but every time I try to take a picture of some Moonfog, it always looks like that album cover, but much, much worse. Every time. Every time.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's like if somebody wants to be like, hey, you like black metal? And I go, yeah, have you heard The Return by Bathory? And they're like, what's that? Yeah, get out of here, man.
Yeah.
You don't know black metal if you don't fucking know.
Yeah, get the hell out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. You can talk about your 90s black metal all the time, but all they're trying to do is reproduce all the fucking early 80s black metal records and add keyboards to them. So,
yep.
That's my pick, number 2.
All right. Shit. Number 3 for me, I cannot pronounce or say these album titles correctly, so I'm not even going to try. But there is no denying that the music of Abruptum is evil as hell. So, I'm not going to say that album title. Go ahead and say it in your own butchered English version of whatever the hell that is. But I've only got these 2 Abruptum records, and they're both fantastic. I mean, I don't even know if these really qualify as music, but they are very, very creepy, and they really fill you with that vibe, just like a really creepy, evil, downtrodden kind of a vibe that I don't know. It's hard to describe because the way that these albums were recorded, they always say, or what the legend is that they would like lock themselves in in the record studio or whatever, like turn the lights off and just torture themselves for a couple of hours, and then that's the new Abruptum album. So, and that's kind of what they sound like, just like shrieking yells of pain and just this brutal noise in the background that's just creepy as hell. I mean,
yeah.
These albums are creepy, and they are just super, super creepy, and they just give off that evil vibe. And even, one of the guys in the band calls himself evil. So, there you go. I mean, there you go. But I don't know. Have you ever listened to Abruptum? Is that anything you've ever thrown on the platter?
Yeah, I have that the first Abruptum on CD, the first EP, and I remember it was like really hard to get when I had it. And I almost sold it because it was going for like $100 at the time. And I was like, oh, I'll sell this. And I'm like, yeah, never mind. I'm going to keep it. But yeah, I totally get you on the Abruptum, totally lo-fi, not entry level, but I just want to say it's a simplified record to me. But it has that vibe to it. That is just that's pure black metal to me, is that first Abruptum. I haven't, besides the first EP, I really haven't listened to them. But that first one, it stuck with me. I'm glad I kept it. And I can't remember what label that was on. I don't even know if it was on a label. I remember it didn't have a barcode on the CD. That's probably why it was worth so much.
I want to say it was Death Like Silence. I think Death Like Silence probably put it out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because these are just represses that I have. They're not OG or anything, but they have this Death Like Silence thing on here. So I don't know, somebody that has access to Wikipedia while we're on here, tell us who put it out. But I'm pretty sure it was Death Like
Metal
Silence.
Vault says Death Like Silence. So
perfect. Thank you, sir.
I mean, I guess that's what it's on. I just remember the back cover's like almost completely black. It has like maybe a couple of words or something on it. So
yeah, and I like their other projects too. Like everyone likes to dump on Vondur a lot too, and Vondur's great. It's like Abruptum, but with a sense of humor. So I've always liked that stuff too. But
yeah, I have that one too.
So that's why I
thought that was a joke. I was like, this is just a joke, right?
But, yeah, it is a joke, but it's funny how many people take Vondur so seriously. As like, dude, no, come on, man, come on.
All right, now we're getting into the nitty gritty here. We're gonna go Deicide, OG, same title press.
Yep, nice.
Yeah, fucking man, this album when it came out, you can't deny this fucking one as far as like how evil this sounded. And I think that what I really think makes this album evil is that the band was invested in how evil they were. So I think they just really bought into the Satanism as far as, maybe it was Benton, but they really bought into, we're a fucking evil fucking satanic death metal band. And it really shows on this record. To me, this thing it goes through and it's nonstop, and it just is one evil fucking record. I think the second one is a little bit more evil, I guess, but the songs aren't as good as the first one.
Agreed.
Yeah. I feel like the second one maybe evokes more evil, but is not, the songwriting is good. So I almost picked the second one, but this one is the first one I heard, and it's the one that's always stuck with me.
No, that's the one you should have picked for sure.
Okay,
that's
because I was second guessing myself there for a second, but
no, you're 100% correct. Like the second album, it really does ramp up the evil, but it's not as good as that first one. I mean, they're both great. They're both great records, but which one do you return to listen to the most? For me, it's always that one.
So, it's always this one. If I'm gonna, well, not, I wouldn't say every time I want to listen to Deicide, I pick this record, but if someone says, "Hey, what's the best Deicide record?" I'm always gonna say this one.
Yeah.
So,
they just released a box set of all of the Roadrunner stuff in a really nice box set, and I've been torn on if I want to get it or not. And I'm like, well, I already have that on vinyl, so I really don't like a lot of those later Roadrunner records. So you know, I'm good. I'm good.
I mean, yeah, Bathory fan says I choose Once Upon the Cross. I like that record too.
That's
It's
a
just,
great record too. Yeah, that's a great record. But I don't know. When I'm in the mood for Deicide, I always pull the first one.
well, this guy lost his virginity to that Deicide album. All right, Brian.
That terrifies me. That's horrifying. That is horrifying. Oh my god.
little mood music, maybe.
Hey baby, do you like death metal? I got a little something here for you. Do you like a little Satan in your death metal?
I'm pretty sure
Wow.
that was the girl. She's like, "Hey, come on, Brian, check
Yeah.
this out."
Wow. Wow. Well, that was a great stream, everybody. I'm done. Woo, all right. Oh boy. All right. I don't know how to come back from that, but what I've got here. Oh damn. Yeah. Good one, Metal Vault. So this is a record that this album terrified me when I first saw it, but it is one of my favorite albums by this band. But Verwastung, Invoke the Dark Age by Abigor. This
Oh
is
yeah.
a recent repress. They changed the album cover slightly, but I remember when I was a kid, you know, it's before I was even aware of stuff like Metal Maniacs, I would see advertisements for this album in like Metal Edge magazine, and I was just like, what the hell is this? And it terrified me. It was before I knew anything about death metal or black metal. Like I was just a kid. And I just remember seeing that advertisement, and it always stuck with me. And I had to track this album down. And I used to have an OG press of this, but it was a casualty of college. I had to sell it for money to eat food and stuff. But this repress is pretty decent. But this album, it always sticks with me, even though it's not the most evil sounding thing. It doesn't have the. I mean, it invokes a lot of darkness and evil, but I wouldn't say it's like a pedestal for that kind of thing. It's just a record that still kind of gives me creepy vibes just because it scared the hell out of me when I was like 13, 14 years old or whatever. So great record though. I mean, Abigor has like nothing but great records. All of their records are great, but I still always come back to this one. And most people tell me I'm crazy for not going to, you know, album X, Y, or Z. Like I always go back to this one. It's still my favorite after all these years. So I don't know. Are you down with Abigor, Dennis?
So I love Abigor. I don't know that record though.
Verwastung, Invoke the Dark Age. This is the first one.
No,
Yeah, this
I
is the
don't
first
have
one.
that one. The ones I have they have like a lot of different art, like almost like a medieval type of art on the front.
Okay, well, you've got homework to do, sir. Like you,
Yeah.
this is fantastic. This has I don't even really know how to describe it. Like it's got like that medieval kind of a vibe to it, but it's real quirky and strange too. Like it's a very odd record that kind of stood out on its own at the time, apart from all the stuff coming out of Norway and Sweden and such. Like this was its own animal entirely. But yeah, it's great though.
It's the original cover. Maybe I
Yeah, the
do have it.
original one had like it was the same photo shoot, but it was a different image than this. And it was just like a picture of the woods and a guy looking up at the trees, like kind of like that. And
Okay.
yeah, it's great though. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I like Abigor is one of my favorite bands. I mean, not favorite bands, but like favorite black metal bands back in the day. And I do have two of their records. I'm not sure if that's one of the ones I have with a different cover or something.
yeah, I mean, it was originally released by Napalm
Yeah.
Records. It was one of the earliest albums that Napalm released, I think. One of them. And yeah, somebody offered me like $100 for it when I was like
Oh, okay.
dying and needed food. So I had to let it go. And it drove me nuts because trying to find this again years later when I had the money to buy it back, it's like I'm not paying what people were asking for it. So I was happy when World Terror Committee did a repress of the original the first six albums. so I had to get it. But I'm annoyed that they changed the cover to this. It's still a good photo, but I prefer the original. So
Okay. Well, I got to check it out. See if I do actually have that version, a
you do.
different version with a different cover. So, all right. So this next one I'm picking is kind of an oddball as far as the band's legacy or the band's discography. This album is not considered one of their better albums, but to me, it's one of their evilest albums. And this is Venom Possessed. And I know a lot of people slag on this record for some reason. I really don't get it. I get that
It's the album
I mean,
cover. It's the album cover.
is it the album
It's the
cover?
album cover. Yeah.
I
Look
mean
at
that
that.
album.
That's the dumbest album cover ever. Oh my god. But go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me how
Okay,
evil it is.
it's fucking evil, dude. No, I mean I get the album cover is kind of whatever, but kids with white eyes kind of freaks me out anyways. But the songs on this, the production on this, so to my whatever what I know about this record is that the band had done all their records up to um, what was the record before this? Fuck. Um, I'm drawing a blank here, but
At War with Satan, wasn't it?
at war with Satan, right? Which was more progressive than actually anything they'd done before, as far as like their song structures and stuff like that. Um, but I feel like this one they kind of went back to black metal and um, out the first record, Welcome to Hell. They went for that more lo-fi sound, and the songs were simpler. But some of the songs on here are really like Harmony Dies and Suffer Not the Children, Hellchild, Flytrap. Especially Flytrap is like a weird song about like that song always reminded me of like child abduction, and maybe it's because of the cover. I know it's about like the Venus. It's about the Venus as far as coming back, like the god and taking people. But for it always reminded me of child abduction for some reason. And this song, the structures of these songs just always they were just so lo-fi and nasty. Yeah, I mean, and Possessed, especially that song, man, Satanic Christ. Yeah, man, this album, it's an evil record as far as Venom goes. And somebody wrote Venom was a joke band. I don't believe Venom wasn't a joke band, because at this time they were actually reading a lot about the Satanic Bible and Crowley at the time. So they weren't just a joke band. They were really reading up on the occult and um, like putting that into their lyrics. And I feel like a lot of bands at that time weren't, even though they were singing about Satan, they were actually like reading up on it. It wasn't just, hey, we're going to sing about Satan. Maybe the early Venom stuff was, but I feel like this period when they were doing Dead of the Night and stuff like that, they were really into Satanism at the time. So,
And
um,
even if they were a joke band, not serious about it, whatever, I mean, you still can't deny the atmosphere of
yeah,
those early records. I mean, they could have been singing about playing ping pong or whatever. The vibe is still there. So,
yeah.
you know,
And that's what this album has. It has a total lo-fi kind of vibe to it. And it's, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's their best album. It's just their evilest album to me. So, and that always stuck with me. Even it gives me an uneasy feeling when I listen to this record, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Whereas their other stuff is more, it's more polished, and I could see it as kind of a joke. But this one, it always seemed like very. I mean, not all the songs, but a lot of them are very deep into Satanism to me.
All right. What are we on now? Are we on number 5? Are we already at the halfway point?
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with a really obvious one, at least for me, I can't talk about evil sounding records and not bring up Ceremony of Opposites by Samael. One of my favorite records of all time has been since I was a kid. I love every song on this record. It's a 10 out of 10 record for me. And one of the reasons why I picked this is just because of the lyrics that are in the song To Our Martyrs, where it's I spit at your God's face, I piss on the cross, I vomit on the Holy Bible, I shit on the blessed whore and her bastard son. I always loved that chunk of lyric there. And when I was in high school, I had a notebook where I used to draw like band logos and all this kind of crap. And I wrote that on my notebook, and a teacher saw it and got me in a lot of trouble. So she like confiscated it, and I was like, I need that notebook. Those are my math notes. Like, I need that. What are you doing? And like that, I had to rip the cover off and throw it away. But yeah, I will always treasure Samael because they got me in trouble in high school. And great record though. I mean, say what you will about where this band went, I still think they're great. I love every album by Samael. I think they're all good, but you can't deny this early stuff. I mean, Worship Him, Blood Ritual, Ceremony of Opposites, all stone cold classics. But my favorite's always been Ceremony of Opposites. So, I mean, all their early stuff is evil, though. I mean, I could have picked any of them, but I have to go with my favorite. So,
yeah.
Yeah, show me the face of the Baphomet's throne. Exactly. I mean, this thing just evokes everything we're talking about. I don't think any other record by them really does. I mean, Blood Ritual is really creepy too, but it's really doomy, and I don't know, it doesn't have the same kind of vibe. And Worship Him, same kind of thing. Like it's close, but it doesn't have the same vibe. This one is just evil through and through. I mean, it's Jesus, a dead Jesus with a bunch of nails hammered into his head. Come on, man. Great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you on that record. That record kind of blew me away when it came out because I wasn't expecting it. After their previous two, and I can see Blood Rituals kind of leading up to that point, but yeah, I did not expect them to come out with that record. And I did get to see.
I love Blood Ritual too. I mean, it was hard for me to pick, but have to go with my favorite. So,
no, that's my favorite as well.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I got to see them play that like in full at one of the Metal Fests a few years ago.
I've seen them play it twice, actually. Wow. I saw them on the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise back in 2015, 2016, somewhere around there, and they played it, and it was great. And then I saw them play it at MDF too, and it was better on the boat actually than it was at MDF. But they were just here a couple months ago. They played here in San Diego with Paradise Lost, and they played a lot of songs from Ceremony and Passage, and a few of the older songs too. But that was a great show. I love Samael. I could do a deep dive on Samael again if I wanted to. So
again.
Yeah, I already did one, but I could do it again easily.
All right, my number 5, going back to a classic here. We're going Immortal, Pure Holocaust.
Good one.
Yeah, to me, I mean, again, this is like one of those black metal albums you can't deny as far as the atmosphere on this. This just, I mean, if you're going to be cheesy about black metal and be on the ice and fucking in Sweden, just fucking, this is the album you want. This just evokes fucking evil and iciness, man. This album, it's this atmosphere on this record. They never topped this record, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you and Devin. I think that's, I'm hard pressed to say if it's the best, but it's one of my favorites for sure.
Right.
I mean,
you want
an actual evil vibe, that's the one you go to. The rest of their stuff kind of sounds silly sometimes. So,
yeah. And this one is that's the one. That's what I'm saying is this one is the one like you can take seriously, and then after that it kind of gets, kind of goofy or whatever it is. But
Well, even battles in the North, like that album has a lot of those same kind of feelings too, but my opinion of that album has always been ruined by the music videos they did for the songs
Yeah,
on that album, where
right.
Abbott is just doing his little Abbott thing, and like,
Yeah.
it just
I mean,
ruins it. Abbott ruined Immortal. I don't care who disagrees with me; it's the truth.
yeah.
So,
I mean, and it just feels like this album they put it all out there to like be fucking a straight up black metal band, and it didn't disappoint me. I mean, you can, as far as like black metal goes, I mean, there's like so many black metal albums that are classics, and for me, Pure Holocaust is one of them.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, if we're gonna be in Norway, I got to show another one that invokes a lot of darkness just from my youth. Kind of scared me the first time I heard it, and it's always stuck with me. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this band. Hopefully this doesn't get us banned or whatever. But that's Endgang Bar by Burzum. I mean, we
Oh
all
shit! I
know.
just got banned.
Sorry, man. Sorry it happens. Well, I'm going to talk about it anyway. So, kind of an obvious choice. I mean, what's more evil than Varg Vikernes, right? But that record in particular, the first time I heard it, I remember there was this. I worked at a record store, and this lady came in with a bunch of crap, and she had that, and I was like, well, that's coming home with me. That's not going to go out onto the shelves. This record's coming home with me, because I had never heard Burzum before. I knew the name and the legend and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I brought it home, and my roommate at the time, he didn't want to listen to it. He was too afraid to listen to it. And this was a friend of mine that he was a few years older than I was, but he still lived in the area. Like, he had long since graduated, but we were still roommates. And he was too afraid to listen to it. He's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if we can justify listening to music made by a legit murderer. And I was like, well, you've got Dissection albums and you're fine with those, right? So like, we can listen to Burzum, man. And I forced him to listen to it. And the vocals of Varg Vikernes were some of the most terrifying things that I had ever heard at that time. I had never heard vocals like Varg's at the time. It was just such an unholy, evil shriek. And that mixed with his really cold riffs and his dungeon synth kind of stuff, it's that record in particular has always stood out as being a very evil, creepy sounding record, just with all of those things working in tandem together. Like, none of his other records sound like that one. Like, he's got a lot of great records, but that one has always stood out as being like an evil castle that just, I don't know. It's evil. And yeah, most people have mixed, conflicting feelings when it comes to Burzum, but whatever. I mean, that's not. We could discuss that, but I don't think we should. But
No.
yeah, Burzum. I mean, what's more evil than Burzum?
Yeah, and I that kind of evokes the mysticism of Burzum to me is Varg for sure. I mean, yeah, the guy's a fucking douche, right? But yeah, I mean, I think the way he made music or the way he did things, man, some of those records are, I mean, definitely evil sounding.
Yeah.
I think, and I think that gets overlooked sometimes. His music gets overlooked by his personal opinions and kind of what a dumbass shit he does. But
Well, that YouTube channel he had before he got banned, I think, did more to hurt his legacy of being like an evil guy more than anything.
yeah,
I mean, when you see him doing karate kicks at a camera and like training a whole brood of children to play D&D and stuff like that, like that's
yeah. I mean, it just kind of shows you what kind of person he is. He's kind of
yeah, he's a wackadoo, but
yeah.
I mean, there's just something about Det Sum and Gang Var more so than all of those other early ones that gives that creepy feeling, much more so than the self-titled. And everyone claims Philosophum as their favorite, but for me it's Det Sum because that's got the creepiness, that's got the evil. So
Yeah. And to me, I think he definitely wanted to prove himself, as far as being, you know, more evil than a lot of other. He had something to prove, I guess, and I think he did it, for sure. I mean, the ways he did it were not the greatest, but I feel like a lot of his music is invoked in those in his hatred or his own battles with his own um his own like emotions and vibes and his head, what he was going through at the time. So, and that comes out in those records. So
well, a lot of these like early Norwegian guys, I mean, it doesn't get talked about enough, but like they were all fairly well to do. I mean, Norway is one of the richest countries in the world, and all of
yeah,
these kids didn't come from poverty. I mean,
no,
Varg's dad was like an engineer or something like that. His brother is an engineer. Ishan, Emperor, all those guys, they all came from well-to-do money. Satyr from Satyricon is loaded, so it's just funny that despite coming from an elevated, what we would consider here as like an elevated way of living, a lot of those kids made music that is still talked about today as being the most evil shit ever when, they were what, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids at the time, just playing evil, but actually made some evil sounding stuff. So
yeah,
yeah, Satyr rides Ferraris. When I their first tour here in the States, he was going around in a limousine where the rest of the band and everyone else that he was touring with Immortal, actually, they all had like a crappy tour bus, but Satyr rolled around in a limousine. So that
yeah.
tells you all you need to know.
And like like Thrasher be Thrash says, Varg was on drugs. He had definitely unstable. That's what I mean by he had mental issues. I
And he
mean,
still
whether or
does.
not
He still does.
yeah, whether or not he was well off. I mean, the guy had mental issues, and I think that's what contributed to his music and made him want to be more evil than everyone else. And he was going to prove that point no matter what.
Yeah, I guess my point was like you don't really think of like people that come from, well-to-do families really as being like having any business talking about anything that's evil. Like what the hell do you know, rich kid, But
Right?
a lot of them actually, I mean, we still talk about all of these records today, We've been showing them all night. So,
Yep. All right. My next one. What are we on here?
I think we're on 6, 7.
7. All right. All right. I'm going with the Goatlord. Goat
Oh.
Lord. And this is self-titled on JL. I can't remember the original name of this record. I mean, there was 2 different releases on this. Um, but yeah, man. Even that album cover. But this record, man, again, we're talking about mental illness and stuff like this. But
Yeah.
yeah, this album, every time I listen to it, it is so fucking. It's just a fucking evil, fucking nasty record. Doomy, hell, you can hear Hellhammer in here. You can hear. Uh, I mean, this to me. I mean, you can consider it black metal, I guess. Um, which it is, but and these guys are from the Las Vegas Reflections of the Solstice. Okay, there you go. That was the original title of this, and then it came out on JAL, just self-titled. But man, this album to me, like the atmosphere on this record, it can't be topped. It's so fucking doomy and nasty and evil, and there's stuff about voodoo on this, and yeah, man. I mean, shit. This shit's sick. It's so yeah, just a fucking gnarly, twisted, evil fucking record. Everyone should listen to this, especially on Halloween. Listen to this on Halloween.
Yeah. And there's a drum machine on that record too, isn't there?
I'm not sure about that.
I think all the Goatlord stuff is with a drum machine, but I could be wrong on that. But no, great stuff though. And yeah, then he go crazy and like kill his neighbor and his neighbor's kid and then himself.
Yeah, I think he thought. I mean, I think it was kind of a. I mean, even there's a song on here about acid. Yeah, it's shit. What's the song on here? The acid orgy. I mean, so like if there's a song called Acid Orgy, you're in for something. And I don't think they were just talking about Acid Orgy and as a song. They were really doing acid probably during the record, and you can tell that's some of the stuff. And I mean, we kind of touched on this during when we were doing the stream on Skinny Puppy about drugs, but I think sometimes when you're doing drugs and you do music, there's certain things that come out that you're not prepared for, especially like somebody that's just listening to it, because you get some kind of weird aura or some kind of oh wait, that's real drummer.
That's cool. I always thought it was a drum machine, but
Yeah,
I'm often wrong. So
yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, a lot of drugs had to do with this record, with Goatlord in general. And that's, to me, that's what the vibe evokes, is it's otherworldly. So a lot of these records to me that are evil are like otherworldly. It's not something that someone that isn't on a substance can create, because it doesn't make sense. And that's what this album evokes for me, and it still does. And I mean, man, this album, it was definitely life changing for me when I heard this record. I had the demo before this, but this album took it to another level to me. You have that one, Matt?
I do. I have the Reflections of the Solstice version. I think
Yes.
Nuclear War Now did a repress on it, and we got the one Devin's talking about. It's like a demo where the guy is banging the goat,
Right?
and it's one of my favorite album covers of all time. It's a great album cover, but yeah, definitely. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. Hold on.
All right, get it. Yeah, that album cover. Like, you have to think too. This was a demo they actually came out with, and the guy drew this cover. It wasn't an afterthought. It wasn't like a re-release. This was the second demo from Goatlord that came out on this record cover. Yeah, just
All right, so
Sodomize a goat.
this is greatest album cover of all time, this demo rehearsal. Yeah. Look at that. I had to show that too, but
that one rules.
The coup de grace, this is the one that'll really get you banned. Take it in, people. Take it in. There you have it. Good stuff.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Goatlord. That's a good pick. All right. Let's cleanse the palate just a little bit here.
You're pretty weird, dude.
I mean, Devin knows that. We're all weird. So anyway, this is low-hanging fruit, but don't break the oath. Mercyful Fate.
Okay.
I mean, you could pick any Mercyful Fate album, King Diamond album, really, but I don't know. There's just something about Don't Break the Oath that just has that vibe. It's my favorite Mercyful Fate record, so this is the one that I went with, but you just can't. Do I need to say anything about this one? I mean, come on.
No.
There's nothing to say. I just have to show it, but there you go.
Such a fucking classic record.
I mean, come on.
Yep. I mean, you can't. That one. The weird thing about that record is, I borrowed it from a friend, I never heard it when I first heard that record, and someone let me borrow it. I still have that copy to this day because I never gave it back. But um, I mean, that it was such a weird record. Like at the time, it was so different than everything else that was coming out as far as his vocals go, and it just drew me in, and it was so like evil sounding, especially the lyrics. So I mean, yeah, this takes me into what, number 8?
I have 3 left, so I think we're still on number 7 actually.
All
But
right, well
yeah,
this
there
one,
you go. Yeah.
yeah. So Melissa, to me, this one, man, the to me this one sounds like you're at a satanic mass. This one reminds me of, I mean, like King Diamond's just basically going through. He's standing up there and preaching on this record, and this goes through the whole mass if you want to take it that way. And it just as a to me it just goes through seamlessly as a black mass, and um it's so fucking creepy. And I mean the song structures: Black Funeral, Satan's Fall, Curse of the Pharaohs, Into the Coven. I mean, to me, this record, it can't be topped as far as like satanic majesty. Um, and his vocals are so like bizarre. It doesn't like when you first hear this thing, you're like, what the fuck is going on right now? But and you just, I mean, it's blatant like Satanism. That's what a lot of these stuff, and this came out in what, like 85, 86. So it's like, it's so blatant. And
Well,
yeah,
this was
I mean,
84, so I'm gonna guess that's 83. That would be
oh
my
shit.
guess.
Well, 83, I'm way off. So
Yeah.
yeah, 83, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This one for me just this is a fucking satanic record to me that is super evil. Never disappoints me when I put this on. Scared
Yeah.
me as a Scared me as a kid, and still such a great fucking record.
Yeah, everyone's talking about seeing Merciful Fate recently or coming up. I wanted to go to that gig in Los Angeles, but kind of forgot
Oh,
about it. So now I'm kind of
Melissa's
kicking myself.
released this. Oh shit, that's scary, right?
There you go. There you go.
Wait, what? Sorry, Matt. What were you saying?
Oh, just a lot of the folks in the comments are saying like they either just saw Merciful Fate last night or they're gonna be seeing them. I totally forgot about that tour. Like it was announced a while back, and I saw they were playing in LA, and I was like, oh, I hate LA. I don't want to have to go to LA to see Merciful Fate. But now I'm kind of kicking myself because yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been amazing to see them yesterday. But c'est la vie. Oh well. I've seen King Diamond live a few times, but seeing the Fate would be cool. But oh well.
You know, I want to say I did see him once, but I saw a cover band, and they played just the first 2 records, and that was a great fucking show. They played with Sadistic Intent, probably like in the, I want to say like the late '90s or early 2000s, and they had like these like strippers, like naked strippers on the stage as well. That show was badass. So that was really cool to see, like the first 2 records by a cover band that had like a really good singer, and they had that was a great fucking concert. But yeah, seeing original Fate was good, definitely. But there was King Diamond, so they only played like 3 Merciful Fate songs. So I mean, it would be cool to see them live again. It's just, I don't know. I guess probably not seeing them in their heyday is probably. I mean, can't you? I mean, you have to think like Merciful Fate was a band that like Metallica was inspired by. So
Yeah, which is crazy, right?
right,
To think
like
about that, that's crazy.
you go back and you're like, shit, Metallica was inspired by this man, but they don't sound as dated as Metallica, which is weird, which doesn't make sense because they should sound. I mean, if you listen to like old Metallica, like Kill 'Em All sounds dated as a thrash record, can but if you put on like the first two Merciful Fate records, they can you're fine. But I mean, if you listen to like Kill 'Em All or like maybe even Ride the Lightning, people are like, like that doesn't sound like anything I want to listen to. But when you go to Merciful Fate, that's something fresh. They're always a band that seems fresh to me. I don't know
Yeah.
if that makes sense, but
Yeah, I mean, I've seen King Diamond live a few times, and he always plays a few Fate songs here and there. But one thing that a lot of people don't realize is his wife sings a lot of the harmonies backstage for him. So,
oh, really?
yeah, like his wife Livia. Sometimes I think he might be bringing her like more upfront as an actual member of the live band, but the first two times I saw King Diamond, where I was standing, she was like off behind the stage setup, and I could see her singing a lot of the harmonies, like filling it in for King. So, you
Oh
know,
shit.
but I mean, he's still a great vocalist. I don't mean to dump on him or anything. Dude's old as hell. If his wife can help him out, cool. But yeah, his wife sings some of the vocals, some of the harmonies and such.
Yeah, it
So,
makes sense. I mean, yeah, I get it.
did you ever hear of that tribute, the all female tribute band called Queen Diamond? Did you ever hear of them?
No, but I want to.
Yeah, I think they might still have some videos on YouTube, but Queen Diamond, total novelty, just a cover and tribute band or whatever. But the lady that was the vocalist, Queen Diamond, she still couldn't top the high notes from King
Yeah.
Diamond. Like it still wasn't there, and I always thought that was funny. So
This guy says she's not singing for Fate though.
okay, I was talking about when I saw King Diamond, I saw her doing vocals. She might be there. You just might not see her. Who knows? You never know. You never know. They might be hiding her backstage. You never know. But I would think the Fate stuff, yeah, is probably a little easier for him to handle vocal wise, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of went off on King Diamond stuff, so
Yeah, he took it to the next opera level for sure on his solo stuff, but
yeah.
anyway, here we are going into number 8. This is the guy that's responsible for, the death of Jesus pretty much. I mean, Judas Iscariot. You can't talk about evil stuff and not talk a little bit about Judas Iscariot, heaven in flames. I have a love-hate relationship with the music of Judas Iscariot because I think the guy, the Andrew Harris, Akhenaten, whatever you want to call him, he's kind of a wackadoo himself. But I've always loved Heaven in Flames. This has always been my favorite Judas Iscariot record. And talk about one-man bedroom black metal sounding evil as hell. I mean, this dude I think he nailed it on this one because it is so sloppy and so ridiculous, but the lyrics are just all about destroying everything holy, and it just has a real nihilistic, misanthropic feeling to it that is just untouched. And a lot of this guy's music, a lot of people often say, he's no different, but Darkthrone is a freaking joke these days. So I'm gonna go listen to Judas Iscariot anytime I can over anything Darkthrone has done the past 15 years. So, but yeah, I don't know. Did you ever get into Judas Iscariot?
Oh yeah. I like all their stuff as far
Yeah.
as I mean, I think they're probably one of the top American black metal bands. Um I mean, if you talk about like American black metal, you have Judas Iscariot and well, for me, probably Absu, and they're not super black metal, but I mean, if somebody like talks about black metal, they're one of the ones that pops up for me as far as like anything black metal as far as America goes.
Yeah.
That isn't like completely garbage. I mean, there's other bands too, but
Summon is really good too. Summon did some really good records, but they kind of
Yeah.
became more of a black and thrash band the more they went on. And Noctuary was always one of my favorite US black metal bands too.
Yeah,
But
I like Noctuary. It's just they're kind of thrashy too. I mean,
they
they're kind
are.
of yeah.
But what's
Definitely.
funny about this one here is on the back it says Judas Iscariot is pure nihilistic black metal only, no politics. And that's funny to me because modern day black metal is all about politics, it
It
seems.
is.
So,
That's all it
and it's
is.
politics I don't agree with. So
Right.
that's what's going on these days. But yeah,
Yeah.
gotta love some Judas Iscariot, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I
And
mean,
I've heard, I think there was something in that really terrible USBM book that came out earlier this year. There's a section in that book where the chapter about Judas Iscariot, there's an interview with Neil from Krieg, and he's talking about how Andrew Harris is still active as a musician. He still writes and makes Judas Iscariot music. He just doesn't release it. Like he has no interest in putting it out there. He just makes it for himself and his drummer, and they only make 2 copies of the album, and it's not allowed to leave their possession. So apparently, there's a whole volume, a whole library of Judas Iscariot albums out there that no one has ever heard, and yeah, that's just weird. Like I said,
sure.
Andrew Harris, Akhenaten, Judas Iscariot, wackadoo. So, I mean,
Pure
release
cult.
that stuff, man. Let
Pure
us hear it.
cult.
Come on, let us hear it.
You can't get any more cult than I only release it for myself and my drummer.
Yeah, 2 copies. That's it.
All right. Next up for me, what are we on? 8 here?
We are on 9. No, you're on 8. I've got 2
I'm
left.
on
I've
8.
got 2 left to show.
And I think this was mentioned in the comments, but yeah, Slayer, Hell Awaits. Man, are you
It's in the
kidding me
name,
right now?
man. In the name.
This one. Yeah, this one is pure fucking evil. Uh yeah. I don't know. I don't even know how they released this record. It's so fucking evil. I mean, they have a song called Kill Again. They're just at dawn they sleep about vampires. Uh fucking Hell Awaits, necrophilia, philiac, fucking corpses, crypts of eternity, hardening of the arteries. Is just yeah, this album to me is the I mean, I if anyone ever says like, "Hey, do you know an evil record I can listen to?" Yeah, it's called Hell Awaits by Slayer.
Yeah.
This is the one. This I mean, and I've seen interviews with people that are like, "Hey, your album's really evil, Hell Awaits." And they're like, "Is it? Oh, cool." Like they don't even know. They don't even know what they released. Which is kind of part of the mysticism to this record because
Yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, this is the
Well, Tom
fucking
Araya has always been like a lifelong Catholic too,
yeah.
which makes it even more like,
Like he has no clue to like what is going on. But I think he evoked all of what he was repressed with Catholicism in this record. Um, and he released it on this record because yeah, man, shit. I don't think you can get a evil this and fucking Melissa, and probably a couple other records I'm gonna show are just the the blueprint for evil and black metal. But I mean, yeah, it's thrash, but you can consider this like the blueprint for death metal right here because it had all the song structures that death metal ended up using on this record, especially Morbid Angel. I think this record is the blueprint for death metal and maybe even some black metal, which I mean, black metal came out of death metal, right? So, I mean, not early black metal, but 90s black metal came out of kind of a backlash to generic death metal, I guess. that you want to say, and
Yeah.
and that's what this record to me represents. So I mean, there's certain records that you have to have if you like this kind of music, and that's one of them.
I would also say Show No Mercy. I mean, that's a real evil sounding record too, and that's, I don't know, honestly, my favorite Slayer record is the very first one. But
Yeah,
Hell Awaits is no slouch either. I mean, yeah, great stuff.
yeah. I mean, I love Show No Mercy too. It's just more of a, I mean, that's more of a speed metal record to me. I mean, more of a heavy metal record, more influenced by Judas Priest, and this one was more influenced by Merciful Fate, and and definitely, I think they were dabbling with the Satanic Bible at this time, and a lot of occult stuff they were looking into. Yeah, right here too on haunting the chapel. They were also into doing. They were doing their diligence as to investigating Satanism at the time, and it
Yeah.
shows.
Yep. All right. My last two are a little weird. They're weird picks, but it's kind of been the theme here. You're showing the old classic stuff, and I'm showing the weirdo stuff. So why break tradition now? So
All right.
I've got for number 9, I got to go with "The Work Which Transforms God" by Blut Nord. This album sounds to me like if Skynet from the Terminator movies, like if
Yeah.
Skynet, the computer program responsible for the destruction and obliteration of all mankind, if Skynet was a black metal band, Skynet released an album, it would be "The Work Which Transforms God," because this thing sounds like it came from the synthetic mind of an evil program. Like, it doesn't even sound human, this record. This one, I mean, all of their stuff is evil. Most of, not all their stuff, but a lot of Blue Dust Nord stuff is evil as hell. But this one just has such an inhuman feel to it. It just doesn't even sound like it came from the brain of a human being. It sounds synthetic and evil as hell. And I just always have likened it to, Skynet. If Skynet made a black metal record, boom, here you go. And this album is really trippy too. I could only imagine if you were tripping and listening to this record, you would probably never come back to reality, because this album, it just twists and turns so much, and it is beyond insanity. Like, it just, the synthetic feeling to it is very different. Most bands don't sound like this, and this is just a very special evil kind of a record. So yeah, it's definitely got some industrial to it for sure, but yeah, I mean, Blue Dust Nord, man, what can you say? Great stuff.
All right.
Are you down with the Blut? Have you ever gotten into the Blut?
You know what, dude? I haven't. I haven't heard any of their stuff.
Okay, well, your homework assignment number 2 after listening to that first Abigor record is check this out. Especially since we
All right.
just did that Skinny Puppy deep dive the other day.
Yeah.
This will hit right now for you. So
Okay. Good.
yeah,
I
definitely
was
write
also
that.
I was also thinking of that Mysticum album.
I almost pulled that, but I didn't.
Oh,
I almost pulled "In the Streams of Inferno." I was
yeah,
really
dude.
close to picking that one, but I went with this Blue Dust Nord instead, and this next record that I'm going to show. But we'll get to that. So
All right. All right. Well, I got to pick this one because it's kind of a changer in not a I would say um the Darkthrone, Blaze in the Northern Sky. This is like an album that is a change from death metal to black metal in a lot of different ways, and not just from the band, but just an overall from the scene. So you have to think when this album came out, death metal bands were everywhere, and you can't say Darkthrone weren't a death metal band because they were, right? But on this album, they kind of went back and were like, you know what? Fuck all this shit. Fuck all that death metal bullshit. All these bands that want, like I'm going to see Broken Hope, and they want people to like they're signing like their glossy photos on their concerts and stuff like that. And they're like, no, man, this is not what metal is about. It's about like underground shit, and they're going back to Bathory, Hellhammer, and they're putting out this record, and it's like a fuck you to everyone on this record because they just were like, we're going back and we're gonna fucking do this style, and we're gonna. I mean, it's a iconic album as far as like a change in the scene at the time. So, and that really threw a lot of people, but it also started what is, I guess, 90s black metal, right? Because they were like the originators of changing the style at the time from generic death metal bands back to old school black metal. And I think this album is, I just listened to this today and I can't believe how many riffs I hear that are just sound like Bathory and Hellhammer and Celtic Frost on this. And then they just sped up a lot of stuff and made it very original, and it sounds so fucking evil, man. I
Have you
mean,
heard
and
their new Have you heard their new record yet? Astral Fortress.
I heard like a couple songs on it. It's okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a band that's just putting I anytime an old band puts out records, to me it's never I don't have high expectations. So old band puts out a record, I'm like, I'll throw it on. I'm like, yep, whatever. It's not I'm never gonna be blown away by something new. I
Yeah.
mean, so from an old band putting out a new record, and I actually thought like maybe like 4 or 5 records ago, Darkthrone put out kind of a cool record. They had like those Agent Steel vocals on one of the records. Can't remember what it is, but
Yeah,
it-
their crust punk era, or like Dark Thrones and Black Flags, the Underground Resistance, those albums.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I to me, Darkthrone just puts out records they want to hear right now. But I mean, the new one, it just sounds kind of boring to me. But
Their last 3 to 4 records have all been like that. Like they're just a couple of guys who get together once a year, jam in somebody's garage after killing a 24 pack of beer, and that's your Dark
exactly,
Throne album for the year. And like, I mean, what's the point at this point? I guess they still make money doing it.
right? I
I
mean,
mean,
I mean, I Fenriz is a guy I respect because he's definitely into the music. He's not a guy that's like he's not trying to make money. He's not trying to like promote anything. He doesn't give a
yeah.
shit. He just wants to make music. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, if it
And
sucks,
I
it
respect
sucks.
that. I respect that too. I just don't like the music he's making right now. That's all.
Right, exactly. I mean, to me, it's like I don't need to listen to this, but he doesn't give a shit. I don't give a shit, so who cares, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that one that you just showed, is that an original OG copy from back in the day when you got it?
OG
OG.
on peace
So
on Peaceville.
right on. So when that came out, like how did that album hit for you when that came out? Because you always hear, like, when they talk about that record, they say the record label hated it. They thought it was just a bad demo. They didn't want to
Yeah,
release it. But now that everyone's made millions of dollars off of it, like everyone likes that record now. I'm curious how that hit here, at least here in America at that time when that album came out. Do you remember what people were saying about it? What the general
yeah,
feeling was?
yeah, I do. It was there was mixed feelings. There was people like me and probably my friends that were like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. Like this is good." But it wasn't like there was other people that were like, "This is garbage. Why is somebody release why like I want to hear another Soulside Journey, or I want to hear more death metal. And but and then there was, I mean, me and my friends were like, this album fucking sick. Let's make a record like this. So I had friends that were in different bands that wanted to do something that sounded like this, because we wanted to do like a black metal band at the time, and just do like old Hellhammer style, or Celtic Frost, or Venom type stuff, because the death metal scene was so oversaturated with like shitty bands. Well, they weren't really shitty.
There's just a
it's
lot of them. There's just a
Yeah, it's
lot of
hard.
them.
It's hard to explain. There's just so many of them, and they thought they were they were above everyone else, I guess, at the time, but they
Yeah.
weren't. It was just, and now like people are like, oh, I like this so and so band. Like, for example, you take a band like Broken Hope or Viogression, or like a second or third tier death metal band. People hated that shit back in the day. They didn't like that stuff. They were like, this is shit. Like, this is just another band like putting out a record that sounds like Obituary or sounds like Morbid Angel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you go back and listen to them now, they did have different sounds to them. But I mean, every in the early 90s, any band that came out that sounded like Entombed, you can go back to any zine and look at their reviews, and it's like Entombed ripoff. Like Unleashed was an Entombed ripoff to any like zine. So it's weird to see that. I
That's
mean,
weird. Yeah.
yeah, Entombed ripoff. Fuck this band.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just had those original like Clandestine at the time. Oh my god, dude! Like I'd go to like a show, and like I'd hang out with the guys from like Exhumed or something, and they're like, "Do you hear that new Entombed?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." And they're like, "That shit sucks. Sounds like fucking Slayer. Fuck that shit." I'm like, "Okay." Like anything that wasn't super original and aggressive was shit.
Hmm.
So it's a yeah. I mean, and the Darkthrone saw that. That's what's so impressive about this record, is they saw that trend, and and that was the trend, and they're like, fuck all these bands. We're gonna go back, and we're gonna sound like this band, and we're not gonna be viable commercially, but we don't care. And somehow it like worked for them.
Yeah.
And that, to an extent, it's still working for them.
Yeah. I mean, people still love Darkthrone, and there's nothing wrong with loving Darkthrone. Me personally, I haven't liked any of their newer stuff. Like all of their records that they've done recently, they all have like one or two songs where I'm like, yeah, I actually kind of like that song. I'll justify buying it, but I never return to them. Like I just never go back to them. And this new one is just more of the same. So like I have no desire to get it. And until they change it up again, do something else. Like I've had enough of their garage metal.
Yeah.
I already have enough of those records. So
So
I'm
is the
good.
new one like more punk, or is it just like
No, it's just like their last couple. It's like Eternal Hails and Old Star. It's like that doomier kind of Celtic Frost worship stuff. And
yeah,
like they've done that like 3-4 albums in a row. And it was the same thing when they were doing the crust punk stuff. Like they had like one too many albums in a row of that style. And like I just get tired of it when that's all they do for like a chunk of a decade. Like, all right, like I got it, guys. Like what else you got? Nothing?
yeah,
Nothing else? You're a legacy band and that's all you got? I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with Darkthrone. So
yeah. I mean, at this point, what are they gonna do? Because they always had those
yeah, well,
like
that's my point though. Like they always had those influences and like they're not doing anything else. So if I've already got that record, like I don't need to buy the other record they did that sounds just like that other record they did. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and I was in the trap of like always getting the new Darkthrone record, but that's a thing that's just got to stop. Like, no more, no more. Had it,
yeah,
had it.
yeah.
But anyway, that's enough about Darkthrone. You want to get into our last picks?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Did you save the best for last? Because I saved the one that nobody will know anything about whatsoever as my last pick.
Okay.
And I'm very, very tempted to just show another Satyricon album because I know it's going to drive Bathory fan 66 absolutely crazy. I'm that close to doing it, but I'll be nice. I've got The Purging by Terra Tenebrosa. Have you ever heard of these guys?
No.
So this is a band out of France. They're kind of out of that same scene as Blut Nord and just this more weirdo avant-garde French black metal scene that's out there. But the reason I picked this record is because, those of you who don't know, Dennis was just on my channel on Thursday where we did a deep dive on Skinny Puppy. We went through the whole discography with Marty Worm of Heavy Metallurgy. And one of the main, I guess, themes that came up when it came to Skinny Puppy was just nightmare fuel, how a lot of their music is very horror-esque and it just sounds like a nightmare come to life, right? Well, to me, that's the exact same thing that Terra Tenebrosa does, but from the black metal side of things rather than the industrial side of things. So this is very, very much in line with, like if you like Skinny Puppy, I think you would like this record. I mean, it sounds almost exactly like what it looks like here. I mean, Satan on vocals, a couple of creepy dudes behind you. It is pure nightmare fuel, horror fuel. Like I would say all of the same things that I say about Skinny Puppy about this band. They just do it from the black metal side of things, and it's a great record, man. Fantastic stuff. I think they've got like 3 or 4 records, and they're all totally solid stuff. So those of you who are interested in nightmare fuel from an avant-garde French black metal band that doesn't really sound like stereotypical black metal, but definitely approaches that style of music from a more artsy kind of a side, but it's very, very rooted in creepiness and evil and horror and darkness and all of these adjectives that I could continue to throw out at you. Terra Tenebrosa does it tenfold. So those of you who can't get into Skinny Puppy because they're industrial, they're not metal, man, well, you can go listen to Terra Tenebrosa and you get the same kind of stuff. So I wanted to show this as my last one because I figured, Dennis, you would have no idea about this, and I want you to go listen to this record.
So, all right. Will do.
Yeah.
All right. Next one, probably everyone. Well, this one's not. My number 10 is like it's going to be Autopsy. And Acts of the Unspeakable is a fucking evil, fucking nasty, dirty fucking record. And I think this record doesn't get enough recognition. And I get like the first Severed Survival, Mental Funeral are great records. This one is like a fuck you to everyone because it's so so different. I mean, it's not super different than the other ones, but it's lo-fi and nasty and evil. Like they went off on this record as far as like just not giving a fuck. This feels like a record that was like frustrated from like a perspective of a band that couldn't go anywhere, I guess. It was like a band that had reached their limits and didn't know what to do, and they came out with this record, and it was ugly. It's an ugly, evil record. You can feel the hatred on this record. I feel like this record is ugh. It's gross. It's a gross record. You can see some of the shirts. I mean, even some of the art on this record is super gross. And at the time, I remember seeing them on the first couple of records, and when they were trying to transition to this record, they had a different vocalist. I think it was think it was Ross Sewage from Exhumed doing vocals, and Chris wasn't doing vocals during the live sets, and his whole thing was sounding like Reagan from The Exorcist when they were doing the live stuff, which was cool. I got to see that live, but this record, I mean, every song is it's ugly. I mean, if you want to hear an evil record, this is the one. I don't know, like what the record company thought when they released this record because it didn't sound like the first two, and it wasn't popular. Like there was a lot of people that didn't like it because yeah, it's very unsettling. But yeah, this is a record that gets a lot of emotion when I hear this record. It's so hateful and nasty that every time I listen to this record, it's just like, oh shit. Like this, I get what they're saying on this. So and then they came out with Shit Fun with the guy or fucking with the shit in his fucking mouth, and yeah.
That
Like
was gonna be my joke. I was gonna ask how it compares to Shit Fun. So
it's so weird. There's a punk element on this record, I guess, that they just wanted. It feels like they wanted to go so many directions to break out from what they were doing, and they only had 2 records out and some demos, but I still feel they were trapped with what they were doing, and they didn't want to do that anymore. And they came out with this record, and then Shit Fun, which was like no one listened to that record. And then you have Abscess with Urine Junkies, and it's just this kind of just so disgusting, like this disgusting stream down into like just horror. And yeah,
bathroom metal is what we always
yeah,
call
it's
it.
so
Yeah.
gross. Like
Yeah.
like this record, like just, but I mean, this was the record that came from the 2 albums, so it was more violent and yeah, gross.
Yeah, I haven't heard that record in forever. Like I'm not the biggest Autopsy fan, and a lot of it I think is because of Shit Fun. Like Shit Fun was kind of my exit point with that band. And anytime I'm in the mood to listen to them, like I just listen to one of the first 2, and that's about it. So I think
Yeah,
I need to give that one a fresh listen. It's been a
yeah,
while.
definitely. You got to listen to
It's been
this
a
one.
while for sure. Like
Yeah.
at least it's been at least like 15 years since I've even thought about popping that in to listen to.
You need to listen to this one and then take a shower because it's gross.
Man, that Abscess album, Urine Junkies. I haven't listened to that since high school, but I remember showing that album to a girl I liked at high school, and it did not go well. It did
When
not
you
go
got
well.
laid?
No, it did not go well. Like no laying happened. I was just like, yeah, I'm listening to this. This is what's in my on my CD Discman today. Urine Junkies, and she just looked at me like I was crazy, and that was the end of that.
It's
So,
the worst pick, dude.
well, like because it was all right. So it was study hall, and nobody studies in study hall. This is back when everyone just had a Discman, and you're listening to music. And I asked her what she was listening to, and it was whatever. She's like, "What are you listening to?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Well, I'm listening to Urine Junkies," and she just looked at me like I was crazy. So.
That's a crazy fucking record. That's why.
Yeah, did not go in my favor. So to all the kids out there, do not try to use Urine Junkies to get a taste. You know what I mean?
No, don't. It's the worst one.
Oh man.
Maybe, I mean, besides Shit Fun.
I mean, I mean, I didn't own Shit Fun at the time, but I would imagine it would have been the exact same reaction. Like, oh yeah, Shit Fun. This record's really gross, and yeah, I can tell, weirdo. I can tell. Yeah. But those
Both
are my
great
10
records.
picks, man. Those are my 10 picks.
Yep.
So I liked the ones that you showed. I'm iffy on the ones I showed, but I think we showed some cool records, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Those of you
Even
who joined late, I don't know if everyone watching right now is here at the beginning. I want to reiterate my love of Morbid Slaughter, and I want everyone to go and check out this 7-inch called Wicca by Morbid Slaughter, most evil sounding record ever made. So I'm gonna leave that with you. That was my first showing, and
okay, so
I have to show it again. I just love
Morbid
that band.
Slaughter is your #1 evil record.
Yep.
Okay. And mine is what?
Just because of the
Bathory?
vocals. Just because of the vocals. I love the dude's vocals. They're just batshit insane. So
My #1 is Bathory, The Return.
well, I mean, you have to beat me. It is your show. It is your live stream. I'm gonna let you have the kudos, you know. But I'm over here
But
showing a
yeah.
band no one's ever heard of, and you got to pull out the Bathory. Really? Come on, man.
Well, this one, this was on my list, and I just didn't show it because there was too many records. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, we could have talked another 2 hours about evil sounding records, but I figure like a lot of these are like no brainers. Like I
yeah,
wanted to show a few things off the beaten path that you off of the dark path that you might not think about with the few that are obvious. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, drawing down the
I mean,
moon, unquestionably a dark, evil sounding record, but
yeah,
I figured that's one that everyone already knows about. So
right. And I had stuff. I had Hellhammer, Mayhem here. I had different stuff, and just didn't show it. Necrophagia. There's different stuff. Um,
Necrophagia was on my first list that I made too, but I figured you would show something for Necrophagia, so I didn't pull it out. But I was gonna show Holocausto della Morte because that's the one that I love.
there it is.
There you go, boom. Yeah.
I had
So
it pulled out. I thought you were going to show it.
well, there you go. There's number 11 for both of us. Necrophagia, Holocausto della Morte,
Yeah.
weirdest death metal record ever made. So
Yep. Yeah, we gotta throw that in because that album, man, it's so disjointed and
it's weird.
ugly
And
and
I've been told that I'm crazy when I say this by more than one person, but I'm going to say it here. I can't remember which song it is, but there's a song on that record where I swear to God, Phil Anselmo, he channeled the spirit of Piggy from Voivod
oh shit.
somehow and by accident. There's a riff on there that sounds like pure Voivod, and it blows my mind because I know Phil Anselmo is not a talented enough guitarist to pull off Voivod. Yet
Right?
somehow he did. There's once I can't remember which track it is, but there's a spot on that album where you're like, is Piggy on this shit? What the hell? Phil Anselmo, what's up, man?
Yeah. You know what he does? Because he changes his riffs because he has like this riff, like the power riff, but then he goes to like this 2-note riff somehow on a lot of stuff. It's like me, and he does that, and that's the Voivod riff. Is that
Yeah, that okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, it
that's what
just
he does. He does this 2-note riff a lot. And that's what it is, because that's what Voivod does a lot. They do instead of the power chord, they do this 2-chord note, which no one does. And that's what he does on a lot of stuff is this 2-chord note, and it's super. Yeah, man. I know what you're saying.
it adds a weirdness to that record, but it blows my mind that it came from the mind of Phil fucking Anselmo. Like,
Yeah,
really?
and
Like, how
and
does
it
that
comes
even
from
happen?
it. You know what? It comes from him because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah,
That's the thing. He's just playing shit from his fucking head, and I mean that's what makes that album so great because it's like it's coming from
it's accidentally one of the greatest death metal records ever with
it's
Phil
coming from
fucking Anselmo.
it's coming from Killjoy and Phil Anselmo, which are two like massive horror movie fucking nerds, and
Yeah.
they're just playing from what they want to hear. They don't give a shit about it. They're not trying to sell records, obviously. They're just trying to make music that sounds so fucking sick. and that's what they do.
Yep.
So I mean,
Great record.
get
And I even like the ones, the first two that they did after the Anton Crowley, Phil Anselmo era, the two where Mariah from Psy is playing the keyboards on the records. Those two albums are fantastic. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't say enough about those records. So I mean, we're both in agreement on that. So
yeah.
anyways,
Right on. Well, there you have it, man. There's our most evil sounding records of all time, sort of, I guess.
all time.
I mean, of all time, where is it? I don't know if he's still watching, but I have to show it just to piss him off. It's evil.
Evil shit, man.
Well, thanks for having me on, Dennis. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
We'll have to do another stream again one of these days on a topic of some sort.
Yep. All right, guys. Thanks,
oh, that's
everybody.
a good one, man. Void Meditation Cults. Yes, that record. Damn, I should have picked that record. Good one. Good one, Mr. Skidmore. Good one.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of more evil records. Just in the comments, tell me what you guys think as far as like evil fucking records. There's so many more. And we just touched on 10 of like our top that we like. There's more. I got a fucking stack right here.
I can't even say that these are my top 10. They're just ones I pulled out that I thought would be fun to talk about.
We're just doing it's a fucking Halloween stream. You guys have fun on Halloween, worship Satan, and yeah, there we go.
Yep.
666. All right, man. Take care, everybody.
All right, you too, man.
For watching.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yep. Happy Halloween.
You have to hit